Ah, you want to know why the cold guy, the one who doesn't care, is so valued by them, right? Feels unfair, doesn't it? Well, sit tight and prepare your ego, because I'm about to tell you. While you're there being all nice, always available, accepting crumbs, and waiting for them to recognize your worth, guess what's happening? They're chasing after the guy who doesn't even reply to messages. Yep, that same guy who couldn't care less. And you know why? Because he learned something you still haven't. How to value himself. And until you wake up to that, you'll keep playing the supporting role in your own life. Yes, because apparently being a normal guy isn't enough. These are decisions and characteristics every so-called alpha male, who obviously values himself more than a piece of art, must make in life. Want to be respected and valued? Not just by them, because of course everything revolves around them, but also by those around you? Then pay attention to what I'm about to throw at you. I'm going to go over a few behavioral traits and rules you have to follow if you really want to be that valued man. Most guys? They're completely in the mud, making the same ridiculous mistakes, sinking in failures, embarrassing situations, and of course, providing that delightful, cringe-worthy spectacle. Let's fix this, because someone needs to save these guys. The truth is simple. Many men have no clue how the game works. They fail because they don't understand their mentality, as if it were some quantum physics equation. And without that, they stumble around in the dark, tripping over basic mistakes. The first thing we're going to fix is how you carry yourself in any situation. And the first lesson is obvious, but goes against everything society has taught you. Ready for this? Let's get straight to the point. Number 1, think only about yourself. You've probably heard the word selfish thrown around like it's the biggest sin of the century, right? Well, forget that now. If you want to be a truly valued man, you need to ditch the idea that being the nice guy is going to earn you any kind of reward. The world doesn't care about your efforts to be an angel who does everything for others, hoping for a thank you or a helping hand when you need it most. Let's be clear. This so-called law of return is a fallacy. Doing good doesn't guarantee that good will come back to you. In fact, most of the time it doesn't. And you know what's left for you? Nothing but frustration. I'm not saying you should turn into a heartless sociopath. Sure, you can help someone now and then, but understand that the focus here is simple. Always put yourself first. Why is that so important? Because nobody, absolutely nobody, is going to prioritize you. How many times have you been there, saving everyone else's world, only to have people vanish when you needed the smallest favor? Exactly. No one is going to value you if you don't do it first. And here's the point many ignore. Being selfish is deep down a form of self-respect. If you don't do it for yourself, who will? Now, applying this to relationships, where most men fall apart, the moment you realize you're not being treated as you should, that you're being sidelined or just seen as an option, the only acceptable reaction is to get up and leave. No speeches, no waiting for a magical change. Just leave. And no, you don't need to be afraid of being the bad guy in the story. Will some people paint you as the villain? Absolutely. And guess what? It doesn't matter. The fear of being seen as selfish, or worse, as someone who doesn't care about others' feelings, is what makes many men accept mediocre situations. They stay there, content with emotional scraps, accepting the bare minimum because they're terrified of being judged, terrified of leaving their comfort zone. And that fear is precisely what destroys self-esteem and self-respect. Accepting anything just because that's what you've got is the surefire recipe for more frustration, more disappointment, and of course, total devaluation. You know the lesson here? If you don't put yourself first, no one else will. And when you allow yourself to be treated as a second option, believe me, it will always be that way. And it's not because people are cruel, but because you taught them to treat you that way. Selfishness in this case is your armor. It's what will protect you from getting into relationships or situations that only drain your energy, your patience, and in the end, your self-respect. I'm not saying to become an insufferable narcissist, but understand that the world will keep spinning, with or without you. So at least make sure you're at the center of your own life, not a disposable piece in someone else's game. Number 2, get your house in order. Here's another basic lesson many ignore. If you don't know how to set boundaries, you'll be treated like a doormat. Simple as that. Whether in friendships, relationships, or even at work, if you don't have the guts to say no, what's going to happen? People will do whatever they want with you. And why? Because they know you won't react, that you'll swallow anything without a peep. And let's get something straight. Setting boundaries has nothing to do with controlling others. It's not about becoming that insecure guy who wants to dictate what someone else can or can't do. Like, you can't go out without me, you can't have male friends, or any other pathetic rule that screams insecurity. Setting boundaries is about you and only you. It means you have a clear line of what you will and will not accept. And when someone crosses that line, you leave. No drama, no emotional speeches. It's not about controlling others' behavior, but about showing how far things can go with you. If you say something is unacceptable, honor your word. If the person disrespects your boundary, goodbye. The problem is that too many people make empty threats, say they'll leave. But when push comes to shove, they forgive like nothing happened. Guess what happens next? The person realizes they can disrespect you as many times as they want because there won't be any consequences. And that's where everything falls apart. Because listen, setting boundaries only works if you're willing to act when those boundaries are crossed. If you threaten but never follow through, you're only fooling yourself. You'll keep being disrespected and treated like nothing because you taught the other person that your words have no weight. If you want respect, the first step is to honor what you say, not just for others but for yourself. Every time you compromise on your boundaries, you're telling the world that you don't take yourself seriously. Lack of boundaries is what sinks most relationships. I bet you've seen it. Couples where the guy is constantly disrespected but stays quiet, accepting everything because he's emotionally dependent. He doesn't have the courage to leave, doesn't have the self-esteem to stand up for himself, so he accepts scraps and settles for the bare minimum. Want to avoid being that guy? Then set boundaries and, most importantly, be ready to walk away when those boundaries are broken. Because at the end of the day, if you don't value yourself enough to uphold your rules, no one else will. Number 3, know your worth. Now, pay attention. Before you go around thinking you're going to set boundaries and be the center of the universe, there's a crucial detail. You need, above all, to recognize your worth. Yes, I know, this sounds like the most cliché lesson in the world, but the truth is, if you don't see yourself as someone of value, guess what? No one else will either. If you're here reading this, congratulations. It's already a sign that you're a little ahead of the emotional zombies who go through life without thinking about themselves for even a second. So yes, you have value. Just stop acting like you're cheap currency. When you finally realize this, guess what happens? You stop accepting any emotional trash people throw in your lap. No more letting people come in and out of your life like catching an Uber. Did they mess with your feelings? Step on your boundaries? Fine, the door's right there. And if it means being alone, better that than staying with someone who treats you like the last option on the menu. Now, here comes the cherry on top. It's precisely this attitude that attracts them. Yes, as incredible as it sounds, women aren't looking for a needy puppy who chases after them. They want a guy who values himself, who isn't afraid to put himself first, and best of all, who doesn't apologize for it. Now let's be realistic. They want security, not the kind that pays the bills or changes a light bulb. They want emotional security because, guess what? Their emotional state is a true roller coaster. One minute they're laughing at a silly joke, the next they're crying because the sky is blue. And you know what they do. They look to you for the stability they can't even dream of having on their own. But here's the big secret. Most men are just as needy and emotionally unstable as they are. Many think that by finding the right woman, they'll finally live happily ever after, like in some bizarre fairy tale. What they don't realize is that it's actually them who are looking for that in men. The result? Two emotional dependents running in circles, thinking the other will solve their lives. How cute. Now, if you're the rare specimen who knows what you want, who has control over your own life, and who, honestly, doesn't need anyone to feel complete, then you become a rare gem. You become that guy they can't stop thinking about. And why? Because you offer what they're desperately searching for and never find: emotional stability. We're not talking about being perfect, but about not being the guy who crumbles emotionally over every little thing. And, my friend, that emotional security is more valuable than any grand romantic gesture or cheesy pickup line. In the end, recognizing your worth is what separates the men who are desired from those who are out there picking up emotional crumbs. And if you can't see your own value, I'm sorry to say, you'll spend the rest of your life accepting to be the second dish at life's banquet. If you're tired of being the doormat she steps on, of being the nice guy she uses and then tosses aside, it's time to stop being made a fool of. The digital book in the description will teach you how to recognize your worth once and for all. No more accepting scraps and being treated like trash. It's time to understand that you're the one in charge of this story. Want to keep being the doormat? Or want to be the guy she doesn't dare disrespect and fears losing? Then get up, value yourself, and flip this game now! Number 4, stop being needy. Now let's talk about the most common emotional poison among men: neediness. That's right, that desperate need for attention, like a puppy always wanting affection. When you're needy, you're basically screaming to the world that you need others' validation to feel like someone. And you know what happens when you do that? You put a target on your back. You become a feast for anyone who wants to use you, and then toss you aside because you'll accept any crumbs they throw your way. Neediness is the quickest path to voluntary humiliation. You accept disrespect, disdain, and any type of mediocre treatment because, deep down, you're terrified of being alone. And that's how you destroy your self-esteem, like a house of cards in a windstorm. Oh, but I don't want to be alone! Too bad. Because while you're squirming in fear of losing someone, the other side is comfortable knowing they can treat you however they want. After all, you're not going anywhere. Here's the hard reality. No one wants to be with someone who exudes emotional fragility. Do you know what neediness does? It pushes people away. No one is attracted to someone who acts as if they'll disappear from the planet without their attention. The more you depend emotionally on someone to be happy, the faster that person will run in the opposite direction. The formula is simple. The more you beg for approval, the less interesting you become. So, what do you do to stop being this pit of emotional neediness? You learn to enjoy your own company. It sounds basic, but many guys panic at the thought of being alone. Loneliness is seen as the worst punishment when, in reality, it's your best opportunity. It's in that silence, with no one draining or manipulating you, that you can finally work on yourself, build your confidence, increase your worth. You begin to realize that the only person you truly need is yourself. And guess what happens when you become someone who doesn't depend on others to be happy? People start to value you. So please abandon this needy mentality. Stop acting like being alone is a death sentence. In fact, solitude can be your best ally because it's where you become stronger. Number 5, master your emotions. Now let's talk about a skill that honestly is nearing extinction. Emotional control. You know that person who explodes over anything, as if the world is conspiring against them all the time? Well, if you're that guy, let me warn you, you're one step away from being avoided by everyone. Nothing screams I'm unstable more than a man who can't control his own emotions. And trust me, being seen as a ticking time bomb that could explode at any moment isn't exactly anyone's dream, especially in relationships. Emotional control is the dividing line between men of value and those who are permanently lost in the chaos of their own emotions. It doesn't mean you'll become a robot without feelings, but that you'll learn not to react like a bratty child when something doesn't go your way.
And here's the ironic part. People actually respect more those who keep calm when everything is falling apart.
While the rest of the world is freaking out, you're there, cool as a cucumber, handling the situation rationally. This not only demonstrates maturity, but also security. And that, my friend, is extremely attractive. Here's the golden tip. Those who have emotional control don't allow themselves to be manipulated. Because yes, some people love to throw emotional bait to see if you bite. That little game of provoking, making drama, testing your patience. You, with emotional control, just look, smile, and move on. No yelling, no door slamming, no dramatic scenes. And guess what happens? You gain the respect of everyone around you because you made it clear that you're not a puppet to others' emotions. In the end, having emotional control is like having superpowers. You decide how you react, when you react, and why you react. And surprise, this puts you in a position of power that very few men ever reach. Want to be respected? Want people to see you as someone they can rely on? Learn to control your emotions, because as long as you're in control, nothing and no one can take you down. Number 6, be better every day. We've reached the crucial but not least important point, increasing your worth. Because, see, recognizing your worth is just the first part of the game. Now you have to keep working to become the most valuable version of yourself. And surprise, there's no shortcut here. Your appearance? Give it a good overhaul. Your finances? Better start taking care of them. Your skills? If you don't have any, it's time to learn. All of this turns you into someone more secure, confident, and, let's be honest, much harder to ignore. Who doesn't value you? Their loss, because you're going to keep climbing while they're stuck. Now, let's take a look at reality with a bit of sarcasm. While women's value is usually measured unfairly and superficially by appearance, thanks society, for men, the range of judgment is much broader. Your finances, your skills, your posture, even the way you walk down the street all count. So if you still think a good face or the latest haircut is going to get you far, sorry to say, but it won't. Want to be respected? Want to be valued? You've got to work on every one of those aspects. And yes, it's going to take work. Who would have thought, right? And you know what the bonus of all this is? When you invest in yourself and level up, you start playing in a field where few people can keep up with you. It's no longer you chasing after approval. It's approval that starts chasing you. You put yourself in a position where, if someone doesn't value you, it's their loss, not yours. And the best part, while you keep developing, evolving, getting sharper and sharper, those who underestimated you will be there, in the same place, looking back and wondering how they let you slip away. So, the final lesson here is clear. Investing in yourself is the only path to being truly valued. It doesn't matter if someone doesn't value you now. What matters is that you keep rising. The loss is on those who didn't recognize what they had in front of them. And in the end, nothing is more satisfying than knowing you're always one step ahead while others are left behind, watching you shine. Number 7, stop self-sabotaging. Now, my friend, it's time for the raw and ugly truth. It's not going to be pretty, but who said evolution is a walk in the park? You want a reality punch in the face? Then hold on. Stop self-sabotaging. Yes, you, the grandmaster of finding excuses not to do what needs to be done. There's always a but, isn't there? Oh, I wanted to improve my finances, but I wanted to start working out, but I wanted to leave this toxic relationship, but there's always a but, and you know what that makes you? A slave to your own excuses. You want to be a man of value, a guy who stands out. Great, then stop acting like your worst enemy is your own head. It's not life, it's not women, it's not the government, it's not others. It's you. As long as you keep coming up with excuses not to move forward, guess what? You'll stay stuck. It's much easier to blame the world, say you're unlucky, or that things are tough. Tough, of course they are, for everyone. But you know what separates those who win from those who cry in a corner? The winners stop self-sabotaging. Enough with the self-pity, with this telenovela drama where you're always the victim. As long as you keep feeding this narrative, the only thing you'll harvest is frustration. Look in the mirror and see the real source of your problems. You're not doing what needs to be done. It's as simple as that. You want to improve your life, your relationships, your self-esteem? Then start acting like your life depends on it. Because guess what? It does. Want an epic ending? Here it is. No one is going to save you. No one's going to come and take you by the hand and say, "Come on, champ." If you don't have the courage to step out of your comfort zone, you'll spend your life watching others from afar, wondering why they're moving forward while you're stuck. And the answer, my friend, has always been with you. So, lift your head, stop crying, and start doing what needs to be done. Or keep sabotaging yourself and live the rest of your life in the mediocrity you've chosen. Because at the end of the day, no one is more responsible for your life than you. And that, my friend, is the truth. Now that you've taken a few reality slaps, it's time to digest all this. If you've made it this far, congrats, but it's useless to just watch, nod, and stay in the same place. The difference between those who succeed and those who fail is simple: action. It's no good just wanting to be a man of value. You have to transform into one. It's no good watching motivational videos, giving a few likes, and continuing to complain about life. Want to be respected? Want to be valued? Then get off the couch and start acting like someone who deserves it. Enough with the excuses, enough with the self-sabotage, enough with blaming the world for your problems. The responsibility is yours. Either you take control of your life, or you'll spend the rest of it as a background character in someone else's story. And honestly, if you're going to be a background character, then don't complain. Because deep down, the choice was always yours. Want to be the protagonist? Then start acting like one. And with that, I'm out. Now go and make it happen, or stay on the couch. The choice is yours.